Okay, so for balance changes, Wrath for Understanding is banned, and the Croaking Chorus is nerfed to 4 and a blue, and then Rahstahde's command is no longer doubled, so yeah, pretty big hit to Storm, all things considered. So is Storm dead? That's the question.
I don't. Obviously, it takes different forms. I mean, every Storm deck is playing on very different engine pieces. A good example of this is Grasp Understanding, where I think basically the only two decks Grasp Understanding got played in was the Storm deck I was playing this GP, and Rug Rejuvenation.
Yeah,
those are very different decks, almost entirely different. The way they're making mana is fundamentally different. The way that they win the game is different, or more or less different. The backup plans are different. So obviously, Grasping banned hurts those decks, but there's also other ways to draw cards. Green Rejuvenation used Chart the Vast as a big card draw spell, plus that also kind of looks pretty deep in deck.
Well, I mean, your Storm deck also used Croaking Chorus to draw cards, but now that's been nerfed. So
Croaking Chorus is definitely not where you want to be when it's 5 mana. That's a very substantial nerf. Where you kind of need to be using Tongue Twister as a creature as well, where maybe the deck has a Croaking Chorus as a backup plan, or way to like use functionally infinite mana, like 10 mana, whatever, if you can make that somehow. But I think you do kind of need to be playing Tongue Twister as a creature to be using it now.
I mean, Tongue Twister is still good as a creature because it still has the word too.
Yeah, if you can go off with Tongue Twister.
And like Flapple Arden didn't get nerfed at all, so like we still have the cost reducers. It's just that your wheel is banned and your other wheel is also nerfed. So yeah,
you're gonna have to find a fundamentally different card draw engine. Maybe it's a return to graveyard stuff with Rejuvenation still going strong.
Rejuvenation is less of a combo deck these days. It's more of a ramp deck with a combo finish.
Yeah, but you could still play Rejuvenation as a combo deck if you wanted to. I don't think it's necessarily worthwhile, but you definitely still could. And of course, all the other decks that are kind of combo-y still work just fine. Grasp Understanding didn't even see much play. We basically only saw playing Rejuvenation and the Storm deck I was playing last GP.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, both of those decks also played Conjure Realities, coincidentally.
Well, good news is Conjure Realities didn't get hit, so like at least Dream Sight is still alive. Oh yeah, and speaking of Dream Sight, the Rahstahde's command nerf means that Dream Sight no longer has that 6 mana combo finish out of nowhere.
Yeah, so I imagine there's a decent chance that the Via Dream Sight deck probably dropped some colors, just because I feel like my impression was Rahstahde's command was the reason that they're on so many colors.
Well, you can't play Via if you're non-5 colors, though.
Yeah, but you just don't play Via. Via-less of Via Dream Sight.
See, continue the tradition of naming decks after what they couldn't have.
Yeah. Maybe it still does. I don't know. But it's definitely more of a... You get more upside. Now that you don't have Rahstahde's command as a great finisher. I think it's a good change overall, though.
Yeah.
Where a lot of times it's playing against these Rahstahde's command decks. And it's like, okay, well, do I play around Rahstahde's command? Like, and that kind of gets into, okay, do I shock myself to get an additional mana to play my cantrip? Because Rahstahde's command on like 7 cards, draw for turn 8 cards, Rahstahde's command does 18. So if you take no damage from your mana base, you're actually safe.
Right. So it's just like playing against Scape Shift back when Scape Shift was a thing.
Yeah. So I think this is an excellent change just because you have that kind of pressure. I don't think it's really that healthy. It kind of makes these coin flippy games.
So is Rahstahde's command still good though, or is it just like?
I think it's probably not playable anymore. Where the fact that wheels both players is kind of rough.
So it's a windfall.
To enable it, you need to be drawing a lot of cards and have a decent hand size. But if you're not just auto-killing the opponent, and your opponent's on some deck that's playing out all the cards, Hellbent, turn 4, whatever, you don't really want to be playing Rahstahde's command for like some tokens and a board wipe or a board wipe or whatever.
Yeah.
When you could just play a board wipe, suppose.
Yeah, and also Valdez no longer has haste anymore, so rejoice for people who didn't like getting whacked for 5 out of nowhere after an opponent already hand attacked you.
Yeah, definitely a big hit. since a lot of Valdez power was in being such a quick clock. But at the same time, he gets a toughness buff, so dodges burn, which is nice.
Well, it's gonna be funny because the toughness buff does go away if your opponent goes above 2 cards, so maybe there's some weird sequencing thing where your opponent manages to kill Valdez because they drew cards afterwards.
Yeah, it does kind of change the when you want to draw cards against Valdez almost. Oh, I guess he always has menace, but if you like assign 3 to him, you can later on the turn draw a card off a clue or whatever.
Yeah, and also you no longer have to like keep worrying about always keeping 2 cards in hand against Valdez, because now if your opponent plays down Valdez, you get a turn to not play a card in order to go above 1 card.
Yeah, mainly the kind of decks that were really using the haste on Valdez, kind of using Valdez as a late game threat. Generally, we're playing a lot of discard, so I don't know how reliable that kind of plan is when your opponent's probably chilling on some excess pay-ups for Dawson's or what have you.
Well, no, in the late game when people are top decking, then your opponent isn't guaranteed to always have a discard spell, especially one that doesn't hit lands.
That's true.
But I think that's probably everything I really wanted to say about balance changes. So let's get to new sets.